Good afternoon, and welcome to Esri's National Government Webinar Series. I'm Jamon Johnson, a product manager with Esri. And for those who are attending for the first time, Esri is the global market leader in GIS, and we build the world's most powerful mapping and spatial analytics software. But today, my colleagues Matt, Mega, and I would like to demonstrate how Excalibur is transforming analyst workflows with structured observation management. And before we dive into the details of Excalibur, I first want to describe how ArcGIS imagery and remote sensing capabilities and where Excalibur fits into the story. ArcGIS imagery and remote sensing capabilities expand across 4 major categories, providing our users with a first-class imagery experience. Starting at the bottom with imagery management, our image server manages and hosts massive volume of imagery on premise, behind your firewall, and even now online. ArcGIS also supports map production, making maps or digital elevation models from aerial assets such as drones or UAVs. Users are able to conduct high-end analysis, image classification, segmentation, or interact with models consisting of artificial intelligence and machine learning using ArcGIS Pro. And finally, for visualization exploitation, users can quickly interpret and gain understanding of the operating environment using ArcGIS Excalibur. Now, traditionally, imagery and GIS analysts work on separate systems, conduct complex workflows, and while one analyst uses imagery to identify activity, the other analyst may use imagery as a reference layer or for map making. Only recently have these tradecrafts been brought together in a combined experience. Now, to promote the integration of these complementary tradecrafts, Esri developed ArcGIS Excalibur, a powerful web-based imagery application that integrates and transforms image-based workflows through intuitive experiences. A user can quickly find their imagery, perform analysis, and share the results as formalized reports or dynamic layers, all through a single application. Excalibur provides image exploitation capabilities that are relevant across many industries. In the past year has really emphasized the importance of being flexible while working in remote environments. Users that traditionally perform their analysis on desktop applications or thick clients now have the option or the flexibility to take their work anywhere. For example, FEMA analysts can conduct flood risk assessments. Department of Defense analysts can quickly create products that support their intelligence preparation to the battlespace framework. Insurance companies can conduct remote rooftop inspection using Excalibur, while the intelligence community can use this application to provide indications and warnings or structured observation management. And the Department of Agriculture can use Excalibur to support analytic workflows in farming, forestry, and even rural economic development. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into our first polling question. What organizations do you support? Is it A, military, B, the federal government, C, state or local government, or D, other? Can be a combination of any of the above. Give you guys a couple more seconds. Thank you for your feedback. Now, regardless of the organization, industry specialists or all-source analysts use Excalibur to discover, view, and perform simple visual analysis to answer activity-based questions. Imagery or geospatial intelligence analysts can conduct precise measurements, create basic annotations, or extract observations that feeds decision-making. While supervisors can manage federated production, monitor observations collected in real time for performance metrics, or capture best practices that can be applied to improve imagery workflows throughout their organizations. So we have another quick polling question. So who do you identify yourself as? So what is your role inside of your organizations? Are you considered a industry specialist, or some may identify themselves as an all-source analyst? Is it an imagery or geospatial intelligence analyst? Or are you a supervisor, a manager, an imagery or GIS managers? In some organization, we know individuals move back and forth or can have multiple roles at the same time. Thank you. And again, we appreciate your response. So far we talked about, why we created this application, what it actually is, what type of organization who would use Excalibur, as well as those different personas inside of the organizations. So what it actually required. From an environmental perspective, to take advantage and use Excalibur, organization requires a base deployment of ArcGIS 10.7 or above, configured with the ArcGIS image server. And then there, Excalibur is just a simple install of the web application, which is part of your organizational enterprise portal. Very simplistic architecture that provides a nice punch. All right, so now let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into the application itself. So when designing Excalibur, we follow the common workflow patterns of analysts throughout the industry. So let's look at, start off by discussing how users can access imagery using our search and discovery experience. Now, many of our users often spend too much time looking for imagery. Some analysts are required to access different systems to search and find an image of interest. In other cases, some organizations with multiple analysts working in the same geographic region often save multiple copies of the same image to their local file system, which can add more complexity to their data management workflows. Now, Excalibur was designed to mitigate some of these challenges. Analysts can quickly gain access to imagery by leveraging existing URLs such as WMS or WMTS, or by accessing image services from the organizational imagery layers. One common workflow to identify imagery is through our interactive search and discovery experience. An analyst can search by map extent or an area of interest, and the results can be filtered by date ranges, cloud covers, nears, or even obliquity. These filters and settings can be saved as a search query that can quickly be ran with a single click. And within the search and discovery workflow, you can also preview the full frame images or have access to the image metadata at your fingertips, truly validating your search parameters. Now, lastly, through the publish imagery workflow, a user can browse to their desktop or shared folder, upload the image or images of interest directly into Excalibur, and immediately begin performing an exploitation. Now, what's unique about this workflow is that during the uploading process, an image service is actually created that can be shared to other analysts in their organizations. This service can contain one image or a set of images, and is only uploaded once and can be utilized by many analysts in the organization without ever manipulating the original copy. Conducted in complete workflow inside of the same application. So with that, I'm gonna pass it over to my colleague Mega, who's going to show us what this actually looks like in action as she uses Excalibur integrated search and discover experience. Mega, over to you.
Thanks, Jaman. My name is Megha Kakraparty, and I'm a product engineer working on ArcGIS Excalibur. So as Jaman mentioned, ArcGIS Excalibur is a modern web application that makes it easy for users to search, discover, and exploit their imagery. From the homepage of the application, I have a number of ways I can search for my imagery. I can use the My Available Imagery page to see what's available to me and my organization, and I can also use an imagery web service through a URL. This is a great way to explore imagery public and owned outside of your organization. We support ArcGIS imagery layers, WMS, and WMTS URLs. When I input my link and it's successfully validated, I can go to the canvas where I can exploit my image layer, or I can connect to the catalog where I can search and filter for specific images in this set. So once I connect to the catalog, I'm zoomed in to the imagery layer extent. I can use the search settings to adjust and apply filters, such as the area of interest, a date range filter, and even a cloud cover filter. And once I click search, the only images that appear to me are the ones that meet my specified criteria. Now, if I have to search against the same imagery on a regular basis, I can create and save queries based on my current search settings and active imagery. And this will allow me to have a single click of a search and discovery. So I can begin the process by inputting a name, such as the San Francisco Bay Area traffic patterns, a description telling me what my query will be searching, and I can view the query filters I just saved, like the area of interest, date range, and acceptable cloud cover. So now I can save that query, and it's available to me in my query list, along with other queries for my imagery layers. So I can move over the search results and see the corresponding footprints highlighted in the map. I can also view the full resolution image on the map, and I can select this image and preview it in its native perspective to see how it was originally captured. So this allows me to view the image in the way it was captured by the sensor. The image metadata is also a click away, and I can easily copy it to my clipboard for future use. So once I identify the imagery that I want, I can add it to my queue. And from here, I can either connect to the canvas to exploit these images further, or I can begin creating a new project. So in this release, we also introduce another way to connect to imagery. This is done by publishing hosted imagery by using files to upload to your machine. So I just received some images from my manager about a port in Dubai. The application will take me through a guided workflow to easily upload my imagery. I can input a title, such as the Port of Dubai, a summary describing what my image layer is about, and in this case, it's highlighting vessel activity at a port of interest. And I can add tags so I can make my imagery layer easily searchable. And I want to share my imagery to my organization so others can use it. Now I get to choose how it's configured. I have the choice between a single image layer, image mosaic layer, and an image collection layer. I'm going to go with a single image layer since it's from a single image resource. Now, I will go ahead and select the files I'm going to upload, and I can begin publishing my imagery. So depending on the file size, this can take several minutes to complete, but I can continue using Excalibur and I'll get a notification once my imagery is done uploading to the system. Back over to you, Jaman.
Thanks, Mega. All right, so far we've discussed several different ways to access imagery, whether that was through a URL, cut and paste the URL of image servers or WMS or WMTS service, or through the organizational layers of library in which you can quickly interrogate that service even more or actually go to the canvas and begin work. We covered the interactive search in which we can apply filters to refine our results or even save those search queries. And Megan even showed us how to upload a single or multiple images from a local file to a browser. So now that we have access to the desired images or imagery, let's begin our analysis. But before jumping into analysis, we have another poll question. What is your most common workflow when exploiting imagery? Do you conduct remote inspections of buildings or facilities? Is it change detection? Do you spend primarily amount of your time collecting structured observations? Is it feature extraction? Is it a combination of all four? Or is this additional workflow that you do? Just give you a couple more seconds. And again, thank you for your feedback. So some analysts are challenged with using multiple applications when completing an imagery-based task, using one application to gain geospatial reference information and another application for imagery exploitation. Excalibur integrates these separate workflows by visualizing oblique and ortho images side by side in a single application view to understand context and gain more insights from your imagery. Users can perform image enhancements and measurements, create annotations, compare pre and post images from a disaster, or extract observation from oblique images and store the information directly into their enterprise databases, all without requiring the need to duplicate this entire workflow in other applications. Imagery workflows may require multiple information resources and abundance of tools, adding complexity to day-to-day operations. Excalibur helps organizations streamline these overwhelming workflows so that users can spend more time on their analysis. So we introduced this concept called an imagery project. An imagery project is a dynamic way to organize resources required to complete an image-based task in a single location. These projects can include images, reference layers, exploitation tools, and even the instructions on what to accomplish. Imagery projects can be easily edited based on daily needs and can be shared across the organizations, making it easy for an analyst to immediately begin their work. And because Excalibur is fully integrated with ArcGIS Enterprise, analysts can share the results of their analysis with an organization or external stakeholders. For example, you can add imagery observation to our interactive briefing report using ArcGIS story maps, or you can even create imagery-derived products using applications like Microsoft PowerPoint. Managers can even retrace their analyst observations because Excalibur automatically captures important data when an observation is collected. They can also monitor performance over time using ArcGIS dashboard to improve workflow efficiencies. So I think these workflows improvements are more impactful if you see them in action. Matt Mega is going to show us different ways on how we exploit imagery, create projects, edit those projects, and also share that work as a supervisor. Matt, over to you.
Thanks, Jaman. As Jaman mentioned, my name is Matt Calamito, and I'm one of the lead product engineers for ArcGIS Excalibur. As my coworker described to you earlier, the My Available Imagery view allows me to easily identify any imagery that I have access to within my organization. And it really helps me gain a better understanding of what type of imagery I have, such as providing a title about the imagery, a description, and even when the last time that imagery was updated. My coworker also introduced the notion of the imagery catalog as the place to search and discover imagery. So using the same Maxar Worldview 2 imagery that she used in the catalog, I'm going to now walk you through what we call the canvas view, where we can exploit and analyze our images of interest. Now, first off, the canvas view provides me with a set of tools that I can utilize directly against my imagery. And we're going to go over a few of these tools between myself and Mega over the course of these next few demos. A key aspect to the canvas view is the fact that I can see information about each record that I have inside my imagery collection. So very similar to the catalog view, as I hover over each record, the corresponding footprint is going to highlight in the map, providing me with better situational awareness of what imagery is from my table compared to my map space. Now, another key aspect of the catalog, or excuse me, of the canvas, is the fact that I can view and display imagery in different ways. And what I mean by that is the view on the left-hand side displays the selected imagery in what we refer to as our map space, meaning that the image is being orthorectified on the fly to match the image to the ground. So as I zoom in a little bit closer to this bridge here, you'll notice that we are orthorectifying that to make sure that that image matches that 2D map. Viewing highly oblique imagery like the one that we have here often results in visual distortions. So over on the right-hand side is the same exact image, but top up, so it's being displayed and oriented in the way it was captured off the sensor. Very similar to how Mega had just shown this in the preview of the catalog view. Now, viewing highly oblique imagery in this perspective allows for me as an analyst to work with this same image a lot easier. So now let's take a closer look at some of the tools that are available in my canvas view. And we'll start off with some of the display tools. So if the image service that I'm using has a set of renderers associated with it, in a single click, I can apply that renderer directly to the pixels within my view. And in this case, I'm simply applying a color infrared renderer directly on top of this image. Alternatively, I can also quickly apply common enhancements, such as applying DRA or even gamma directly to those same pixels that are in my map display. If available, I can also leverage the bands within my image to change their band combinations. So I can take this panchromatic image, or excuse me, this multispectral image, and I can view it in a single band. So the great part about all this is that the power of this is coming from the image server on the back end. So as Jaman mentioned earlier, this is actually a single image on disk, but the pixels within my view are being manipulated on the fly as I utilize any of these image display tools. So if you think about that, numerous analysts could be using the same image on disk, but we can all manipulate them in different ways based on our day-to-day needs without duplicating anything on the server. So it's very powerful technology coming off the image server. Now, for those that do a little bit more enhanced or advanced enhancements, we also have the ability to change the orders of imagery, to change additional displays, and again, utilizing all those renders. So if you sometimes utilize the Landsat service that's widely available in public, you can utilize the URL that Mega had showed you to paste that URL in, connect directly to the canvas, and utilize the many renderers that are available on a single service with millions of images in that image collection. So let's take a look at some additional tools, such as our exploitation tools. The first tool that we'll take a look at is our measurement tool. So as an analyst, I might be interested in understanding the height of this specific bridge, and in this case, the Golden Gate Bridge. So I can select the measurement type that I'm interested in. I can select my unit of measure, and I can quickly conduct a mensuration directly on top of my image. Now, based on the sensor model and the underlying elevation of this image service, we can see that this bridge is roughly 750 feet. Now, based on the image service that you're utilizing, a set of measurement tools come to life. So that metadata is very, very important in what types of measurement tools are surfaced. And in this case, this specific image service has the proper metadata and properties for me to conduct certain measurements like base to top shadow, and even top to top shadow as it brings in some of those sun elements. So again, very dynamic in nature. The canvas reads in your image service and will display the proper tools that you can utilize against some of the pixels within your view. So let's take a look at another exploitation tool, a common one where folks can annotate or draw on top of their imagery utilizing what we would call our markup tools. And again, this is really great for calling out key areas of interest or highlighting specific things that you visibly see in your imagery. So as an analyst, I can quickly annotate on top of my image to call out specific things such as this bridge of interest that my organization needs to conduct maintenance on in the upcoming season. So as an analyst, I can quickly just draw or mark up directly on top of the image. I can add a label, and we can call this our bridge of interest. We can change the color, the size of the font, and I can place that directly on top of my image. And lastly, I can even connect that label directly to my call out to further highlight this key bridge of interest. So now that we've kind of marked up our image, we've made some enhancements. What we can now do is simply conduct what we would call an ad hoc workflow, meaning maybe this is something I want to include in my report or a presentation in downstream analysis. So we can take a look at another tool, our Create Report tool, to allow me to quickly take what I see in my view and export it out into a PowerPoint. So in this tool, I can quickly just sketch the area of interest that I want to export, and I can provide some common information, such as a title to this report. I can provide any comments that I want to have maintenance conducted on this location in the upcoming maintenance season. And I can even supply a file name for this PowerPoint, and we'll just use the same report title. In addition, I have a couple options I can also include. I can utilize the dark mode in my report, a title slide, or even upload a copy of this report to my portal once it's been created. So I'm going to go ahead and create this report. As you'll notice when this report opens up, some of the settings that I had specified are now being included in this report. So I had asked for a title slide, the dark mode, the area of interest that I had highlighted, and even some of the metadata from that image is being included in my report. So now that it's in some sort of template, I can now add this to any of my organization's templates or even leave it as is, as it's just a PowerPoint and I can come and edit it at any time. Now, lastly, I specified that I wanted to upload a copy of this report to my portal. So I can simply drag and drop this report directly into ArcGIS Excalibur. In a single click, I could upload it directly to my portal. The app notices in the upper right-hand corner informs me that my report is already ready, it's available on my portal, and it's available for others in my organization to utilize in their downstream analysis. And in just a single click, I have direct access to this item in the portal. So now that we have an understanding of the Canvas view and some of the tools that are included with it, I wanted to take some time to dive a little bit deeper into our imagery projects to show you how you can leverage them in your daily workflows. So I'm going to take my hat off as an imagery analyst, and now I'm going to put a new hat on as an imagery manager or supervisor. And maybe I was just informed that there's been updated imagery around a port of interest in which my analysts need to identify if any vessel activity is taking place. So the new imagery that was just uploaded earlier by my coworker Mega is now immediately ready for use as an image service inside of Excalibur. So now as a supervisor, I can utilize Excalibur to create an imagery project based around this updated imagery. And as Jaman mentioned, an imagery project is a dynamic way to organize resources required to complete an image-based task in a single location. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize the Canvas view to quickly create one of these projects. By utilizing the save experience, I can simply provide some information to begin creating my project. And the first thing is a project title, and in this case, vessel activity that's occurring at this port of interest. I can include a summary to better describe what this project's about. That recent information suggests new vessel activities occurring at this port of interest. And most importantly, I can provide a set of instructions to inform my analysts what they need to accomplish. And in this case, collecting and recording observations for any vessel activity that's occurring at this port of interest. Now, an imagery project is just a portal item on the back end. So I'm going to include some tags to make my project easily discoverable. Once that project has been created, I can view the details of this project at any given time to begin adding capabilities to this project. So as you can see, the name, the summary, and even the instructions that I included are all here for me. In addition, you can also see that the project's focused around the imagery layer in the port of Dubai that I had also specified. So knowing that my analysts need to collect observations around the port of interest, I can begin adding capabilities to this imagery project to include an existing authoritative observation layer. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose my organization's vessel observations layer. Great. So now in addition to helping out my analysts, I'm also going to utilize one of my organization's authoritative web maps that have reference layers that highlight points of interest and other areas of interest around this port. So if we take a step back and just see what just occurred, my coworker received updated imagery around a port of interest and was able to easily upload it into Excalibur for immediate use. Within the same application, I, as the imagery manager, received word that observations need to be collected around this port of interest. So I quickly created an imagery project based off the imagery my coworker had just uploaded. I described what needs to be accomplished within this project for my analyst to work. I included that imagery. I included a web map with reference layers, and I also just added an authoritative observation collection layer for my analyst to open up the project and get right to work. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my coworker, who will be performing the role of an imagery analyst in order to execute and exploit the imagery that's within this very same imagery project. So with that, I'll send it back over to Mega.
Thank you, Matt. So Matt just informed me that I need to work on an imagery project. As an analyst, I have access to a list of imagery projects that I'm part of in my organization. I can gain an understanding about each project by seeing its title, who owns the project, when the project was created, as well as a project summary if it's provided. I can also view the project details to see any additional information, such as the imagery associated in the project, the observation layers utilized in the project, and the web map that's getting leveraged in the project, along with the description and a summary. Now, I'm going to begin opening my project. But before I get started, I want to look at the project instructions to gain a better understanding of what it is I need to do as an analyst. So these instructions can be viewed at any given time. So I can see that my instructions are to collect and record observations of any vessel activity occurring within this highlighted area of interest. And they are later going to be used for downstream analysis. So before I proceed further, I want to use the time slider to view any previously collected observations in my project, but specifically in my area of interest. So this is going to help me make future observations, since I'll know what's been previously collected. I can also use my swipe tool to compare my two imagery layers, and I can see any changes that occur in my imagery. So I can quickly see here that this vessel has been loading. With that, I can begin collecting my observations. I can use the Collect Observations tool to begin my work. A list of icons displays on different observation types, and in this case, specific different vessel activity. I have the options of arriving, departing, docked, loading, and unloading. I can click on the loading observation and mark my vessel and collect it on the map. So from here, a form displays to fill out additional contextual information. I can comment that my vessel is loading and have my certainty level to nearly certain. And I can even provide a pennant number if that's applicable. So in addition to these manual fields, there are auto-populated fields for the user to see, and these are key to observation-based workflows. These fields allow for easy traceability since they're connected directly to the observation on the image. So now I can submit my observation to the system of record. Now I just received word that these two vessels are no longer docked and they are actually getting ready to depart. Luckily, I can use the Batch Edit Observations tool to reflect this change. I can begin by drawing an area of interest, add comments that these vessels are departing, change my observation type to departing, keep my level to nearly certain, and click Update. Now my changes are reflected directly on the map. So once I update my observations, they also appear automatically on my project dashboard. My supervisor can immediately see these observations, that they were collected from me, and use it in downstream analysis. As each new observation is collected or edited, I can see it in near real time. So this is just one example of how information created in Excalibur can be utilized throughout the ArcGIS platform. Now, I'll send it back over to Jaman.
Thanks, guys, for that awesome demonstrations. Just to recap, we actually went through a lot, right? So we was able to see how easy it is to visualize imagery in a web application. Not only visualize, we did, some little bit of exploitation, right? We applied enhancements and renderers. We had some focus tools we looked at, being able to measure an imagery. We marked up that imagery. And we also were able to export our final analysis in the form of a PowerPoint. We can email out, and we also showed the options inside Excalibur. You can quickly upload that PowerPoint into your organizational enterprise portal for wider disseminations. And that really completed our ad hoc workflow. And then we transition to more like a deliberate workflow where Matt acted as a supervisor and created these projects. And the projects were created in the same application. We didn't went to another application, another system. It was all within the context of Excalibur. Not only we created these products, we show how we were able to edit those products, the projects. Projects were shared out to Mega as an analyst. She created those observations, did batch editing to those observations, and also showed us in real time what the supervisor can see on their project dashboards, and as far as in context of end-to-end workflow. Pretty awesome stuff, and definitely hope you guys enjoyed that demo. All right, we have a final polling question. We talked a lot about doing imagery exploitation on the web. However, we do understand that users work in all different types of environments. So for the final polling question, what platform do you use to exploit imagery in your organization? If it's online or on the web, are you a complete desktop users? Or do you guys, some of you guys use both? Let's give you guys a couple more seconds. Awesome, thank you for that feedback again. All right, so everything you saw is available today inside of ArcGIS Excalibur. But just to give you guys some insights on some future capabilities that we're currently working on. And just to highlight a few, right? So enhancements will be made to our observation workflow. This includes allowing analysts to select more than one observation to copy or clone and make new observations from new imagery that they may receive. We're adding a feature table that will introduce an exploitation canvas, so an analyst can view the attributes about or any reference information about a particular observations or an observation layer. So not only seeing a bunch of observation graphically on the screen, but is imagine that table, not only when you click on that particular observation, all that rich metadata information about that observation is in the table. Or vice versa, maybe you want to interact with the table and to correlate that into the screen with where those observation are graphically located. And then in the end there, you saw the ArcGIS dashboard. We are extending or enhancing that experience to allow our analyst or our supervisor with a few clicks to quickly stand up their observation dashboard based off of the information inside of their project that they created. And not only that, with the ArcGIS dashboard, you can add additional layers to really build that experience on your specific needs. And then lastly, we are working towards the support of web-based motion imagery exploitation workflows. So bringing that full motion video type or other videos, MISB or non-MISB compliant videos to the web tier to do exploitation inside of Excalibur. To include integration with raster analysis, which will allow us to have support for object detectors, deep learning, or what some call machine learning or artificial intelligence workflows. And with that, please stay in touch. Here are a few links to help you learn more about Excalibur, including a website where you can see product capabilities, sign up for newsletters, or either contact your individual sales representative. There's also links to some technical resources, some additional videos if you're interested, or you can even email the product team. And just recently, we added or updated a new page on Esri's GeoNet focused on Excalibur. So if you do have a GeoNet account, please look us up and communicate with us, and we'll respond. And thank you for your time today. And we'll go ahead and open it up for any additional questions.
Thank you, Jamon. This is Noelle again, and we do have a couple of questions from our users, so I'll go ahead and read those aloud, and if any of our presenters would be able to answer them, we would love that. So first question, what will accuracy give me? Can I increase the accuracy by introducing more accurate DTM?
Thanks, Noel. I can take that one. If this is in regards to conducting mensurations, you're absolutely correct. If you have a more accurate DTM, the elevation model that you're utilizing for your image service directly impacts the accuracy of your measurements. Yes, the answer to that is yes. That is correct.
Thank you. Next question is, if a user has drone data that they want to publish as a Mosaic image service, but has built overviews in the Mosaic dataset, it seems to disable the measurement ability when publishing. Is there a workaround?
I can take that one as well, Noel. It's something that I'm going to have to look into. We are starting to work a little bit more with drone data sets. In fact, today, if you actually had an image coming from a drone and it was published as an image service, we can actually bring that into Excalibur. In terms of the overviews causing the disabling of measurements, it's something that we'd have to talk directly with the raster team on. And it's something that we can maybe help get addressed outside, but unfortunately I do not know the direct answer to that.
Thank you. One more question. Who determines the ontology?
I'll take that one. So what you saw in the video, we had those layers, observation layers already created. With Excalibur, the organization have the flexibility, right? So organization dependent, but in this case, a lot of managers or the organization themselves have layers that they create, and you have the flexibility to create those layers inside of Excalibur. What we do, we have required fields that we append to your organizational layers to be able to do some of the traceabilities. And those required fields, pull things from the image metadata, location, times, nears, the time of imagery, all that important information that you need to answer additional questions. So long story, there's a few fields that we automatically capture for you, and then you have the flexibility to add on top of that to create your own existing organizational layer.
Thanks, Jamon. And another question, Maxar requires an account to obtain their imagery. Does Excalibur have access to user accounts to determine what imagery the organization has access to?
I'll take a stab at that one as well. So the account access to the imagery, to Maxar's imagery, falls outside of Excalibur. The organization themselves or the individual need to have the appropriate permissions and access to that imagery or the image services. Now from there, if they do have access to it, they can register those services to the image server, and then begin using Excalibur for the exploitation.
Thank you. We have a couple more questions, actually. They're coming in. Is it possible to assign a project to a specific user?
I can take that one. I see a couple, I know we have a couple minutes here. There's a couple project questions that maybe I'll answer just maybe two of them in a row here. But for the first question, is it possible to assign a project to a specific user? The answer to that is no, not at this time. The longer answer is yes. So what we're going to be doing is introducing more of a give or take, words here, but like a project management experience that I can essentially assign a project to a specific user. if I wanted to, or to a group of users. We've also heard interest in potentially gridding a project so that analysts work in specific grid areas of that project. So we're not there yet, but these are things that are on the horizon for this notion of an imagery project. And then I saw another one in there in terms of imagery projects, adding imagery to an existing imagery project, and it's a really great question. At this time, if your imagery project points to an image service and that image service updates, then yes, your imagery is just going to update based on whatever images are removed or added to that entire image service. But if you create an imagery project around a specific ID, meaning I want, raster ID 1 of 10, then that imagery project will always be raster ID 1 because you decided to create your project based around 1. If you provided it the entire image service, then as images get added or removed, that image service just loads automatically in your project. And we will be extending the notion of editing a project based on its imagery, based off the queries that you saw Mega had used in the catalog. So you can create a query and run that to bring back imagery that falls under specific things. And we're going to apply that notion to our imagery project details view in future releases. So really good questions there.
Thank you so much. When do we expect the AI workflows?
I'll take that one. Yeah, so we're actually working on them right now. Our immediate release for Excalibur will happen this May, and then our next release will happen Q4 this year. So our goal is to introduce a lot of AI ML capabilities at the Q4 release.
Excellent. Would this be useful for a combination of drone and satellite imagery?
Short answer, yes. Absolutely. As I mentioned, we are introducing, working on this concept of a motion, imagery experience, i.e., drone imagery, inside of Excalibur, and that's coming here again, probably the Q4 timeframe. But today, right, you can save that drone imagery as an image service and use it in Excalibur today.
And I'll add to that, Jaman, just to kind of expand on some of these notions of the project here. So think of your canvas view as a true canvas, right? It's art that you want to do based on your imagery, but that canvas view is kind of smart in a way that it understands what imagery you have and if it's a project and it has certain capabilities, right? So when I went to the canvas view with a specific image service, a set of measurement tools showed up based on the metadata. When I created a project with imagery and added an observation layer, when Mega opened her tools in the canvas view, she had a set of observation tools that were based on the observation layer, right? So think of the canvas and an imagery project as a way to continually add capabilities. And the type of capability you add will all be directly reflected in what tools you have available in your canvas view. So unlike typical desktop workflows where you have a bunch of tools, all the tools, right? And you just need to know where to go and what to grab. Excalibur tries to eliminate a lot of that and say, if you have an observation layer added to your project, we're going to show you the observation tools that correspond to that. When we bring in AI and ML, if you added a detector to your project as a capability, we're going to provide you with detection-based tools that are readily available in your tools list, right? Same with motion imagery. If it's a video that you add in, we're going to provide you with a set of tools to allow you to annotate or mark on top of that video. So just trying to draw out a couple scenarios where an imagery project, depending on what capability you add to it, will determine what type of tools you have in the canvas view to really provide these focus-based workflows, whether that's commercial imagery, drone imagery, motion imagery, video layers, right? So this notion of the canvas being dynamic in nature is key.
Thank you. So we have time for maybe about one more question. So let's see, there is another one. Does Excalibur have any SAR exploitation tools?
I can take that one. There's no specific SAR-based exploitation tools at this time, but if there are some tools that you would like to see, we would love to hear them, as we'll continually add more and more to it. We are seeing a lot of folks utilize renderers against certain imagery as a direct way of manipulating the pixels. So we see that commonly. But if there are direct tools you utilize a lot, let us know, and those are things that we can definitely take a look at.
Great. Well, thank you so much. If there are any questions that have been left unanswered, we will go ahead and reach out to everyone individually with those answers. And with that, I think we can close it out today. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.